COVID-19, why you do this to me? I really don't like being stuck in quarantine. I have no toilet paper, I don't even have a snack. Hey, coronavirus, I want my life back.
Lynn wins the competition tonight. The isolators, I've noticed, are like competing to see who can be the first one as soon as we hit the air to get the hello on. And already Sandy, you know what? Let's get to what we're grateful for. Sandy wants to get right to it. Let's get right to it for you, Sandy. What was it? Thankful for receiving a lawn sign today from my son's high school, congratulating him on graduating from grade 12. So I presume what they did was they're putting lawn signs on kids who are on their lawn, and the kids who are graduating. How's all the isolators doing tonight? How's everybody doing? It is Friday night. Woo! Remember when Friday night you looked forward to it and you got to do something? What else are you grateful for today? Let me see. Grateful for gardening with my daughter. Nice. It's nice to get out there. It was a beautiful day, other than the heavy rain and some cases the storm that went through. And I know you in Mississauga right now, out in Oakville, through those areas, just went through a bit of a heavy downfall as well. Hi, Kevin and Parker. Very, very grateful to be able to hear your guest tonight. Yes, you are going to love my guest. She is just unstoppable. I will say no more. Grateful for my trailer. I'm grateful for my neighbors. Turns out none of us like the one neighbor who was along at 6 a.m. Folks, if you are cutting your grass before 9 a.m., stop it. 9 a.m., okay? 9. Not 7, not 8, 9. Come on. What else? I'm grateful for Friday night takeout. Yeah, I love the takeout. I hope you're ordering from some locals, but I'm grateful I got to celebrate my mom's 82nd birthday yesterday. Well, Rose, happy birthday to your mom from all of the isolators. We'll do a couple more. And the reason we do this, if you're new to the show, being grateful really helps your stress, your anxiety levels, makes you look at some positive things, makes you happy, I hope. And I hope, is this, now that we've done this for a few weeks, is it helping anybody? Are you actually getting the benefits from trying to have a more positive attitude? I sure hope you are, because it helps me. I'd love to hear what you're grateful for. Grateful to say hi and have a chat with my neighbor at a safe distance, of course. Grateful for a beautiful drive today. Yeah. I'm looking out over the lake, and I can see some dark clouds out there. I think what you guys had in Mississauga is just now making its way out over the lake. We didn't get it the second wave downtown. I know there was a protest downtown, and then the skies just opened up. It poured for that. Okay. Cindy is saying some days are better than others, and I hope, Cindy, that this is one of those days that's better than others for you. And you know what? If you are feeling down, if you are feeling unmotivated, if you are feeling like you need someone to put their arms around you and just say, it's gonna be okay, this is the day. I would like you to have a listen to a little bit of tape here from my guest tonight.
And the principal says, I'm sorry. Tracy can't go to this school. My heart just drops. Tracy's got to be able to tie her shoelaces, and she's got to be able to go to the washroom by herself. There's one teacher and 30 kindergarten kids. How can she manage Tracy as a 4-wing amputee? So she counteroffered. She said, how about you try Tracy just for 1 week? And he said, okay. So my mom and I walked up to the path of the school, and she got outside of my classroom, and she got down on her knees to look me eye to eye. And she grabbed my shoulders and she said, Tracy, it's really important that you and everybody's included. Nobody left behind. And I didn't know why she was so intense. But I'm like, okay, Mom. So he races outside. And he's looking for me. And he doesn't see me anywhere. 15 minutes go by. The recess bell goes. I never made it outside. His heart dropped. So he goes inside to find my teacher and ask her what happened. He said, couldn't Tracy tie her shoelaces? And the teacher says, oh no, Tracy was the first one with her shoes tied. He asked her, what happened? She said, well, one of her little friends couldn't tie her shoelace. So Tracy gave her a hand. It turns out none of the 30 kids could tie their shoelaces. Thank you. Everyone included. Let's be everyone included. Thank you.
I am so happy that my friend is here. Unstoppable Tracy. Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Hello, I am fabulous. Thanks to joining all of these fellow isolators with
Tracy,
Kevin.
Tracy, you're always fabulous. Oh, I'm getting so sick and tired of hearing you're always fabulous. It's so nice to have you here. We have so many isolators here who sometimes get down. And I know that you are the perfect person to talk to when someone is needed to give you a cheerful thought.
Oh, well, thank you. And I certainly used to tune into you and all the last over 70 days to tune in to have a cheerful thought with you, my dear friend Kevin.
Tracy, okay, I'm going to ask you this now. We'll get it out of the way with right now. Do you ever get down? I mean, do you get down? And if you do, what do you do?
I absolutely get down. There's up days and down days, and I'm blessed that there are more up days. But I think of, I spent 3 months living out of my car in Miami because I wanted to get the attention of a coach. And he mostly coached able-bodied men, and they had arms and legs. And then I'm this girl with a disability in the Paralympic side of things trying to get noticed. And he just wanted no part of it. And I remember, every day I would set out, today would be the day that I'm going to catch his eye, right? I'll wash his boat, I'll run an errand and try to do something to make a difference. And so you can imagine by day 88 that,
yeah.
Living in my car, eating Cheerios and, being super discouraged. And it was a lot like COVID is right now in isolation, being isolated in that car with all my family and all my friends back home. And I didn't know anybody and I didn't really have any money. And so in this tiny space all by myself in this car and not getting anywhere, not connecting the way I wanted to. And I'd face the rearview mirror of the car every day and it'd be like, today's the day. And I eventually got to this place where I didn't really believe it. And so I had to kind of reframe on what I would believe. And it was sort of like, okay, today I'm going to be the best version of myself that I can be. Mm-hmm. And I got out the car on that 90th day. And instead of just being preoccupied with getting the coach's attention, I just did me. And there was a guy that needed help on the dock, and I went and I helped them with the boat. And then somebody else needed help on the crane, and I ran over and I operated the crane for them. And I just was present with people and social with people and supporting people. And my coach, he actually saw me doing all these sailing favors for all these people. And at the end of that day, he said, come on, let's go sailing. And I'd spent 90 days trying to win him over. And when I was just doing me. And it was kind of like when we were talking, Kevin, this morning in preparation for this call, I really loved how I said, oh, there's up days and down days. And I loved your advice. I don't know if you want to share with the listeners about not wronging yourself for the odd down day.
Yeah, exactly, right? I think when we get mad at ourselves for having a down day and we don't expect it, it stays down a lot longer. Instead of just saying, "Hey, it's okay, having a down day. I'm having a down day." I have them, you have them, everybody has them. Let's tell people a little bit about Unstoppable Tracy. Now, folks, don't stare. She doesn't have any arms or legs, okay? So don't stare. You know, anytime you see a picture of Tracy, she's not hiding behind her back. It's up front, right in your face. And it says, okay, I dare you to say something about it. You know, when did you, let's talk about you as a youngster first, because we heard that incredible story out of kindergarten. And as a baby, so you're born with no arms and no legs.
Yeah. Above knee, both legs above knee and left arm above elbow, and then one finger. Yeah, this picture's a bit helpful to be able to see. And the prosthetics at the time to get me strong for walk-in. And that's my fabulous mother with her 70s hairdo. Gives away how old I am, which is so fun. And as a baby, I wasn't being a hero. I'm just the same old kid that wants to get to that cookie jar, right? And so I'm the same naughty child that does whatever it takes to get to the cookie jar. And so if that meant rolling instead of crawling, that's what it took. And so I think I was sort of lucky early on to learn that you got to just do whatever it takes. And sometimes that means falling or not reaching, but you just keep figuring out, right? If you want the cookie bad enough, you figure it out. And so it's sort of a lucky childhood skill that I got to carry in. And as a child, it turns out I didn't talk till after 2, which must be hard to believe for some folks. As you can see, I'm a shrinking violet. But I'd be in a pram or I'd be walking along and people would look at me and their eyes would go big like saucers and often well up with tears. Mm-hmm. And so as a kid, I don't want people crying every time I turn a corner. So I learned that, if I looked right back at them eye to eye and give them a big smile, that would turn them around. They would go from being sad to smiling back at me because I'm smiling at them. And so how to turn other people around so that I could just go play. I didn't have to stick around and make some adult feel better because they're feeling sad for me. And I think it was a real helpful skill that now when you're busting strikes at Air Canada or busting Uber into Canada with all the heartbroken taxi drivers, is how to take those disgruntled faces and not let it discourage you from still reframing the conversation with a smile.
Wow. Fantastic. We can just end the show right here. That was fine. That's Tell me about your mom.
My mom is born in Liverpool. As a teenager, she hung out with the Beatles in Pete Best's basement. He was the drummer for the Beatles before he got kicked to the curb for being too handsome, I think. That's the way Mom describes it. And, in Liverpool, there was a lot of strikes and a lot of strife because right after the war, there wasn't a lot going on in this war-torn town. So it was very much a suck-it-up buttercup kind of town. And I think it's no mistake that my Liverpudlian mother made sure that I could tie my shoelaces when it was time to go to school. I don't think it was – my sister had to tie her shoelaces too, and she had hands. So it wasn't because I had a disability. She was just that tough love kind of mom that at 5 years old, you make your bed, you tie your shoes, right? It's this Liverpudlian style that's loving and funny, but tough love, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's my mom. And it was so great that she learned to speak to other people's listening, right? She didn't say to the principal, Tracy can tie her shoelaces. She said to the principal, can we just try?
Give her a chance.
Yeah, give her a chance. But she also said, if it doesn't work out, no problem. She could hear he was worried about being stuck with me. So she spoke to what he was saying. He was saying, "Oh, I'm worried about being stuck with her." So she said, "You won't be stuck. If it doesn't work, no problem. Can we just try?" So her negotiation was from his perspective, not saying she can tie her shoelaces, she can tie her shoelaces. And so I think it was really helpful for me that it's not really about my story. It's about, what do you need? How can I open your ears? How could I open my sailing coach's ears to be willing to coach me?
Okay. The thing that I've always been impressed about Tracy is not the fact she goes sailing, rock climbing, skydiving, scuba diving, you name it. It's that she can tie shoes. Because, first of all, show me what you have. Show me what is left of your arm. So
my left arm,
Yep.
and it's above elbow, no elbow joint.
Yep.
On the right side, I have an elbow.
Yep.
And then I have a bone from my elbow to my wrist. You guys can turn your hands over, like, to face the ceiling.
Yeah.
So you have a few bones in here for rotation, but I've got one. And then it looks like a thumb because it's kind of fat, but it's actually your two middle fingers. They started to grow, but they didn't grow apart. So it's one extra wide finger, which was the start of two fingers. So it goes straight up and down. If it was the thumb, it would stick out the side.
Okay, one of the things I'm most curious about right now, can you give someone the finger like that? I'm thinking that's one good one.
That's one really good way.
It's either okay. I'm not even going to bring us there.
Not even going to do it. But let me tell you a funny story, Kevin, really fast.
Yeah.
When I learned to drive, I kept saying thank you in my rearview mirror. And when I started to drive, everybody would give me the bird back.
Because you're thinking you're giving the finger.
And I'm saying thank you, because they're letting me in. And they think I'm giving them the bird, like, I got in, sucker, right? And give me the bird. And so I had to stop saying thank you that way.
The reason that tying a shoe impresses me is because, first of all, fully able-bodied people with all the fingers and the elbows and the wrists and that, you know, as a kid, we struggle to learn to tie the shoe. It's a very difficult thing. But now, years later, it's second nature. It's nothing. We don't think about it. And if we could not, it would be devastating. It would be absolutely devastating. So that was one of the stipulations for you to be allowed to go to school, was you needed to be able to tie your shoe.
And the only kid. Like, how come the only girl with no hands was required to be able to tie their shoelace?
I'm going to get Tracy to show you how she can tie a shoe. But just a second before we do that, tell me about the principal, because right now we're getting a bit of a bad impression, and I don't want to leave people with that. So tell me about the principal.
Well, thank you for that, Kevin. See how magical Kevin is, everybody? He knows there's more. That principal was a magical superstar forevermore. He never, ever said no again, right? Every day from then on, he always said, okay, let's figure this out, right? He figured out, like, no, N-O just means K-N-O-W. We just don't know. Right? And as a 5-year-old, instead of learning I was fat or freckled or not smart or too short, I got to learn that no, N-O just means K-N-O-W. You know, much to my poor mom's dismay, that I always hear no as, oh, mom just doesn't know yet, right? So that principal forevermore was kind and generous and helpful, and he became an award-winning principal in Scarborough. His name is Mr. Wistow. Okay. His name is Mr. Wistow. I'm trying to. Jack Wistow. Yeah. And he had a son, like you have a magical son, who grew up to be a principal too. And both the Wistows ended up being wonderful, wonderful principals. And he never said no. He wasn't a bad guy.
No, but right? he was concerned. He was rightfully concerned. And what would happen to you? What would happen to the rest of the students? So you actually, this 5-year-old girl, taught him a lesson.
Aw. And he taught me many lessons too. But it's true.
Freeze
He
that.
did.
Can you go back? Bring us back here, Parker. Let's. I want to talk about some of these pictures. Just a moment. Okay, that right there. Hold it right there. So tell me what's there. What's happening?
So here they're getting my stumps, my thighs, which are hiding in my sundress, strong enough so that the skin is tough enough to wear prosthetic legs. And like you guys would be on rocking horses or running around like those wheelers with the saucer around you with wheels on. So they put me in this kind of bucket thing, and it's like a rocker, and my stomach muscles, my core muscles will get stronger. And so that's what they were doing, was as a little girl from like 6 months to 2 was building my tummy muscles and making my skin on my thighs stronger so that I could wear prosthetic legs.
So let's move ahead a bit here. And okay, are those prosthetic legs there, or is that what is that?
They're like, they call them stubbies.
Yeah.
And even like you might even see veterans that unfortunately, if there's an accident and they have their legs blown off, before they get long walking prosthetic legs, they get stubbies. But because I was born this way, so there's no knee there. And so I'm learning to walk on short stubbies and shuffle along. And by the time I got kindergarten, I had tall legs. I was as tall as other kindergarten kids, but no knees. And then in grade 1, they gave me knees that would bend. So it's like a graduation of balance and walking.
All right. So you are now a motivational speaker, and a fantastic one at that. You do a lot of traveling. You have shared the stage with people. Name drop. Do some name dropping.
Name drop. So Michael Douglas, Mark Wahlberg, also. I'm trying to remember her name. I was trying to name some ladies. I remember all the boys, of course.
Oprah.
Kevin Frankish, right? Like, which is kind of fun, and but not on a stage, but on a street corner on TV once with.
Would you please clarify that statement, Tracy? We weren't just on a street corner somewhere hanging out, okay?
Sounds a bit cheeky.
She was rappelling down a 25-story building for Easter seals, okay? That's what she was doing. I was too chicken.
Oh, no. You didn't end up jumping?
No.
But you were a wonderful broadcaster that drew attention to raise awareness. So we were better together, right? I couldn't be broadcasting. You were broadcasting. But you know what's really funny, Kevin, is that day, 8 a.m., I had no idea I was jumping off that building, right? You remember I have my hair in this fancy bun and I'm wearing a fancy green dress, and I went there like you to interview a few people.
Yeah. You had a show. Do you still have that show?
Unstoppable You on Roku, on TDC, which is the disability channel on Roku. I mean, it's kind of fun. Unstoppable You. And so they do reruns and bits and pieces. They're not doing recording right now during COVID, during the pandemic isolation.
Yeah.
But I showed up and I found out that there was this drop zone there on that, and I had no idea. So see how fancy I'm dressed.
Yeah.
But I wanted to jump when I saw it. So when I went to the table, I'm like, oh, I want to jump. And they were like, oh, not today. and then I'm like, wait a minute, what are you trying to do? I realized I was me. I needed to talk to their listening. So they raise awareness, get some media. And I'm like, wow, could you imagine the media if you get this girl with no arms and no legs, and you've got all these men in suits jumping? Why don't you get a woman? And why not an Easter Seals? I was a camper at Easter Seals, and then I grew up to be the camp director with 63 staff.
Was that Marywood or was that at Wood Eden?
I was at Blue Mountain.
Oh, okay, yes, because there used to be an Easter Seals camp up in the Collingwood area. I remember that. Yeah.
There was mine. They sold mine off, but I know Marywood and Wood Eden as well. I know I visited all of them.
Okay.
So I was.
Sorry, continue.
So I convinced them to talk to the drop zone guy. They didn't say yes, but they said, well, let's see what the drop zone guy says. So I go to the drop zone guy and I say, we want to drive some awareness and generate some funding and generate some great media. and the drop zone guy, he doesn't care about that. He cares about safety. And so again, I wasn't speaking to what concerned him. So then I said, I used to work for Outward Bound, and I've the first 4-way amputee that climbed the Himalayas of Nepal, and I know ropes, and I teach ropes. I know it all. And he said, really? He said, well, maybe next year when you show me in my shop. So then I could hear him say, you got to demonstrate it. So I'm like, okay, see that truck there? What if I demonstrate off the truck how I rappel? And if I do it successfully, will you let me do the 25-story building? So then he said, okay. So then I rappelled off the back of the truck and showed him how I do it with my hands. And he let me then do the 25-story building, which was phenomenal. But I had to convince everybody at every step of the way. And I didn't know on Monday morning that opportunity was going to be there. And I didn't know this Friday morning that this wonderful opportunity, because we're both early birds and we both happened to catch each other at 7 a.m., that we turned into this magical evening together.
And it's always magical when I talk to you.
No.
You mentioned Unstoppable You, and that is something that you work on with people in your sessions. It's not just Unstoppable, Tracy, and you have what is it? You have a mantra or 3 points that you tell people. So I said, you know what, Tracy? I want to put them into a mathematical formula. Me, the guy who's really bad at math. But I thought it would be fun because maybe it might be an easy way for some people to remember. So I'm going to do the math part of it, and then I'm going to get you to explain it, okay?
Okay.
So here is Tracy's formula for the limitless secret to unstoppable you as prepared by Kevin Frankish. So we have the infinity symbol and the U and the Y. That means, well, you know what? The limitless secret to unstoppable you. Oh, hold on, we'll just go back to the first one there. Hold on. One sec. There we go. So the infinity, limitless, unstoppable you, represented by U and Y. So this is the title of this. So tell me about the limitless secret to unstoppable you. What does that mean?
Well, so I cheekily spell limitless, often with a B, because I'm limitless. And the big secret people find out is that I was born limitless.
Limbless. Yeah.
Or limitless.
Which has made you limitless, yeah.
But the real truth is, the bigger secret is you were born limitless too. We were all born limitless.
We don't see it.
No.
It was almost like you were forced to see it.
Yes.
You know, it was almost like, you know what? This isn't Tracy. This is Tracy up here and that. And you were forced to. And a lot of us aren't forced to see our potential at all.
Yeah. Yep. Something comes up and then you see potential, but not for everyone.
Okay, let's go to the next part of the formula. And again, any math majors out there, please don't judge. So the greater than C, exceeding certainty. So this is the first part of being an unstoppable you. So what does exceed certainty mean?
So when I started sailing, I kept falling out of the boat, right? No legs. I'm top heavy. Every time there was a wave or some wind, everybody else was able-bodied. And I would be in this boat sitting on the edge, and I failed that first summer because I couldn't stay in the boat. I knew the parts of the boat. I knew the points of sail, but I failed because you got to be able to stay in the boat to pass. And so I had to exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain was no excuse for inaction. I had to just keep climbing back in that boat. And a lot of you feel like you're falling out of your boats right now and feel like you're failing. And so I just encourage you to exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. It's okay to feel uncertain, but you exceed that uncertainty.
Very nice. Okay, let's go to the next part of this.
And there's a World Cup sailor picture. I went from failing to World Cup.
To World Cup.
Right? Kicking able-bodied, 27 able-bodied Viking-like men with big muscles in boats. Nobody else were missing their hands or their legs. And I'm at that World Cup sailing regatta in Melbourne, Australia.
Wow.
An Olympic class regatta qualifier.
Okay, next part of the formula. So this is in parentheses the P, so I put it in parentheses because you're embracing. Get it? Huh? Okay.
I love it.
You know,
Embrace.
I'm not a math person, but you're embracing possibility.
Yes.
So what are we doing?
So right now we kind of feel like we don't know how. How are we going to get through our feelings of isolation? How are we going to find a new way to pay our mortgage or our rent? Or how are we going to pull our teenagers out of their bedrooms? Or how are we going to reinvent ourselves or survive another day in isolation? Sometimes we don't know how. And like, for example, we didn't know how I would ski, right? No legs. And people who are missing their legs or paralyzed from the waist down, they would do sit skis. But because I have no hands, I couldn't use the outriggers for a sit ski. But just because I didn't know how doesn't mean I didn't embrace the possibility that I can do it. So even though you don't know how, you embrace the possibility you can do it. And so I remember I got out there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to ski and we're going to figure it out. And I'm sitting on a bench with my legs off. And my ski instructor, he's beside me. And he had gigantic feet. And then I got this idea. I'm like, oh, my thighs, my stumps could fit in his ski boots. So that's what I did when I first started skiing. I put my thighs, my stumps, in men's ski boots backwards. and the backwards was to put me in the duck squat position, right? Because I had no knees. So the backwards boots put me in that duck squat.
And ski boots are very strong. They're very, very supportive, right?
Very supportive,
they don't
very
bend.
sturdy,
Yeah,
no bending,
yeah,
no flexing.
yeah.
And so here I kind of had a ready-made prosthetic because it was sturdy and strong and right there. And so I could have said, I don't know how I'm going to ski, so I can't go until I figure it out. But instead, I embraced the possibility, I don't know how, but I am going to ski. And so you embrace the possibility, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it, even though you don't know how. You don't avoid failure. You go for it. Embrace possibility.
All right, the next part of the formula is a plus I to the power of 1. So it's I, independence, to the power of 1 by yourself. You see, again, I am not a math major, but to me, somehow this made sense. So Tracy's contribution to this show is on the right. Mine's on the left. What's more impressive, I ask you? So tell me about earning independence.
Well, it's almost like tonight. I'm earning independence with this incredible show, and Frank is earning independence, and all of you listeners are earning independence, not alone. So, when I was rappelling off a cliff in Thunder Bay and some places near North Bay where Kevin grew up, I believe.
Yeah.
So way north Ontario, I was rappelling off cliffs, and there's all these photographs of me climbing, and you can't see anybody else in the photo. There's no arms, there's no legs, and I'm hanging on the side of a cliff. But I'm not climbing alone, right? There's someone on my lifeline. There's someone on my safety line. And you can just barely see the rope in this picture that's appearing on the screen. Yeah, now, it's me doing it. I'm earning independence, but I'm not earning independence alone. Like, who is your lifeline? My lifeline is listening to Kevin Isolators every night for 77 nights. All of you listeners are getting your lifeline so that you can earn independence. But we're not doing it alone. We're surrounding ourselves with the phenomenal Kevin and the unstoppable Tracy. And we're encouraging each other by taking time to write comments. Like, other people are being motivated by your generous, grateful for comments. Right?
I have the greatest audience in the world, honestly. Oh my gosh. You know what? It's a community. It literally is a community here. Let's put them all together. Let's recap the formula right now, okay? So here we go. The limitless secrets to unstoppable you: exceed the certainty, embrace possibility, and earn independence. And you know what the funny thing is, what you were saying, you can't earn independence by yourself.
No.
Wow, mind blowing.
Right? It's okay. We earn independence. We earn isolator fever breakups with reaching out,
Do you know?
surrounding ourselves with lifelines.
You know what happens to you, Tracy?
No.
Your voice cracks every once in a while, and
Oh.
I can tell that you are getting emotional.
No.
I can tell. And there's been a few times that you said it even here this evening. This comes from your heart, from your soul. This is not just some words you're paying lip service to. Like it's like you're saying this for the first time, and emotionally it's hitting you.
Oh, yeah. Every day I have at least a half a dozen calls of people that are tearful and crying, right? Every day for 77 days, right? And that doesn't count for the hundreds of Facebook messages and Twitter messages and direct messages on Instagram and emails through my website. Like everybody, it's just exponential what's going on for the world. I thought it was heartbreaking before. I'd be on a stage and then people would whisper in my ear about where they were at with suicide, or their courage for writing their own book, or their heartbreak and trying to find services for their child with autism, or being courageous enough to be a woman and take on the men in their organization for a significant position, like whatever that might be. Or the small voice of, you're powerful, you have an MBA, but your skin happens to be black, and you're just given this small voice of being heard. There's just so many stories out there that might not be about arms and legs, but they might be about divorce or color or lesbian, bi, gay, trans, queer, plus, or depression. There's all these different stories that people, the invisible disability. I'm lucky mine's visible in a way, because I get an abundance of empathy, but I'd rather be expected to participate than given a break to stay on a couch. And so I kind of like the no excuses approach. I don't know what's going on in your life, right? I don't know what our listeners are living through with finances, with heartbreak, with abuse, with fear, with depression, with suppression. I don't know what services they're losing out on, but I know that I have every excuse to be sad every day, and to be on welfare, and to not ski and sail and get out there and travel the world. But I know if I have some tough love, like my mom taught me, if I live a life of no excuses, I get to live a life of no limits. So some tough love for everybody, no excuses, and you get to have no limits. And that doesn't mean without tough days, but it does mean you get back in there, exceed uncertainty, embrace possibility, and you earn independence, not alone. Get your lifeline courage from listening with Kevin and from reading each other's comments. And you face the world again to be the unstoppable, refueled you. Exceed.
There you go again.
No excuses, no limits.
There you go again. You get emotional.
Yes.
Look at you. I love that.
Aww.
Who?
I know there's real people in these comments. Thank you for these beautiful comments. Your beautiful world watching us is moving me. They're bringing tears to my eyes, you cheeky bunch.
Who's your hero?
Who's my hero?
Who's your hero?
Oh.
And if you want to name a few, then go ahead. But I'm interested. Who's your hero?
Honestly, today, the bravery and the courage that you have shown, Kevin.
Oh, stop that.
Yeah, but the vulnerable you.
I'm not going to give you any more airtime, so stop sucking up.
No more hero turn. Yeah, he doesn't want to hear that. I have a wonderful woman named Kathy Smart. She was 17, 18 years old, and her dad died. And she was in school, and she was given a school project while she was trying to get over the death of her dad. And she found out that there was no sailing for people with disabilities. And so she goes into what used to be called the Ontario Crippled Children's Center. It's now called the Hugh McMillan Medical Center, Bloorview Center in Toronto. But way back when, it was Ontario Crippled Children's
Crippled
Center,
Children,
and I was in the waiting room getting some new legs. I was about 8 years old, and she at 17 was brave enough to ask a secretary, "Can you give me some names?" There's nowhere in the world that she can see, nowhere in Canada, for people with disabilities to sail. And she wanted that to be the legacy for her dad that had just passed away a month or so before. She wanted to do this as a gift for remembering her dad. And they couldn't, because of privacy, give her any names. But I happened to be sitting in that waiting room. And so I said, I want to. And, you know, she's never worked with people with disabilities. And then she's looking at this girl with no arms and no legs. And then she takes me on Lake Ontario, where the ferries go back and forth, and I'm falling out of a boat. You know, I got red hair and pigtails and glasses and no arms and no legs, and I'm falling in the ferry path of Lake Ontario. And she had the courage to believe that as long as I was like, I can do it, even though I kept trying to figure out how to climb in the boat, and I couldn't figure out how to climb in the boat for the whole summer, right? It took me 3 months before I could figure out how to climb in and balance in the boat. I didn't figure it out right away, but she was courageous enough to let me keep trying.
What's her name again? I'm sorry.
Her name was Kathy Smart.
Yeah.
And Kathy Smart, we went on to climb the Himalayas together. We did Outward Bound together. We sailed tall ships in the North Sea together. And right now, Kathy is in a developing country supporting people. I think it's called Bhutan, and I'll follow up and write it in the comments after I hang up to find out where she is exactly.
So how is it with a C or a K? I just want to try and see if I can get a picture of her.
Oh, C. Catherine Smart is, I think, her Facebook
Smart.
name. Catherine
Okay.
Smart.
Okay, I think.
And she used to run a company called Smart Moves.
Yeah.
For leadership, and she was
here
a
it is.
difference.
She's a project director at Bhutan Canada Foundation. Would that be her?
That's her.
Okay, hold on.
Catherine. So she's not 17 anymore, and I'm not 8 anymore. But she keeps going. Oh, I'm so glad you're going to share Catherine's picture.
Okay. Hold on one sec. Okay.
Oh, this is the first time something like this happened.
Is that her?
That's her, and that's Stephen Couchman.
Yeah.
On the other side, her magical Outward Bound husband. They met when we were on Outward Bound together, and which is so fabulous. So they are both huge difference makers and mentors in my life, and they're in Bhutan right now making a difference. Like they just every year, first March of Dimes, and then Outward Bound, and then the North Sea in Holland, and right now it's Bhutan and so many other initiatives. So Catherine was a big, right from 17, was a legacy maker, and she never stopped.
And it was just,
she never let me off the hook.
And it was just a chance meeting between you two.
Yes, so, I guess it's chance. But you know, when I was climbing the Outward Bound cliff, and at first I was trying to get up, and you can kind of see on that rock face, a lot of the instructors were there, and they were heartfelt, and they were great, and they're like, "It's okay, Tracy, you did the best you can," right? And they were all going to kind of let me off the hook. And somebody said, "Tracy, let's just pull the line a bit so that it kind of raises her so she gets the feeling of climbing the wall." And Catherine said, "No way. She's been barely at this hardly even half an hour. Don't you dare help her out. She can do it." Right? So she was another one of those tough love mothers, right? Like, and she wasn't a mother. She was just 10 years older than me. She was a teenager when I was 18, she was 28 when she was saying, "No way, don't pull that rope. She's going to figure this out. She's barely tried. It's only been 30 minutes, right?" And it's I'm lucky that I had these strong women in my life that didn't let me off the hook. And that, you know, I've got this story where I was on my front lawn crying, kind of like a lot of us on different days during this isolation. We have moments and days where it hits us harder than others. And I remember being on the front lawn, and my mom opened the door, and she's like, "How come you're crying? What's wrong?" And I said, "The kids on the other lawn and I grew up in affordable housing, and there was like gravel between the houses. Was hard terrain, and I was on like a really steep hill, and so I couldn't, without my legs, I couldn't get over to there.
Oh, hold on. 1 second, Tracy. If
I
you could, oh, wait. You know what? I'm just going to get you to rewind your thought about 15 seconds because your Skype's froze there for a moment. So you're on a hill. You were on a hill. Continue from there.
I was on a hill and I was tearful, and my mom said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "The kids on the other lawn over there, I was trying to wade them over, and they said, 'Ignore her. She's weird. Don't talk to her.'" And it hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And my mom, she said, "How's that working for you?" And she shut the door. And I think, oh, my mom is so mean, right? But really, my mom knew I could figure this out, right? She was saying, like, you have every right to be sad, or you could be sad and figure it out. And so once I got that light bulb, I saw a skateboard. So I rolled down the lawn because I didn't have the legs on. And I like to say I borrowed the skateboard. And I have one long arm, right? And I sat on the skateboard without my legs, and I used the skateboard on the road to get past the gravel driveway. And then I body rolled up the lawn to where all the kids were. And like some of the tough kids, some of the bullies are like looking at me, and all of the kids had their eyes huge, like, holy cow, did she really just roll up this lawn with no arms and no legs? And I don't know whether they were in shock because of my body, or if they were in shock that I had the gall to show up on their lawn when they said, "Ignore her, she's weird." But I knew I had to say something before they did. Like before the bully said something. Yeah. I had to sort of set the atmosphere. So I just sort of said, "Hi, I'm Tracy. Can I play?" And I kind of caught the bully off guard by speaking. And so then the bully says, "The new kids, always it." And I didn't know how I was going to play tag without my legs with all these legged kids and all this gravel everywhere. But I knew there was no space for, well, I don't know how, or I'm not sure. Like as soon as I would do that, I'd be out. So I said, even though I didn't know how, okay. And when we played tag and when we played hide and seek, none of the kids left the grassy lawn. Nobody ran on the gravel. I don't know why and what happened. I don't remember. But I know they all stayed on the grass, so I was able to run on my knees, on my stumps, and I was able to roll around on the lawn. And so sometimes we just kind of have to stand up tall, right? Put on our brave face, even if we're scared inside, and sort of fake it till we make it. You know, you put your face on and you say, "Hi, can I play?" And even if you don't know how, right? And you say, "Okay," and then you backpedal. Like I bet you, Kevin, and your son, I bet you guys didn't know how to Facebook Live and Twitter Live, right? You've just figured it out. You said, "I'm going to do this for 77 days," and every day you figured it out, and you've gotten better and better at doing these great broadcasts.
Do you know what? If you go to YouTube, all the shows from the beginning are there except the first one. It was so bad. I was so angry. And I thought, I'm not going to keep doing this. I'm just not. And so I erased it. And it's the only one that's not up there right now. I'm sorry I did that now because now I don't have the first show.
Yeah. And to show that it's okay to be angry and not successful at first, right? You try again.
All right, Tracy. What's that? Oh, someone has a question. May I ask a question? Robin has a question. Robin, please go ahead with your question. Now we just have to wait a couple of seconds for the stream to catch up. Let me see. Hold on, I'm going to wait for Robin for the question. It was really bad, Rick. Yes, it was. Let's see. I'm just going to wait. Again, what we have to do is because we're streaming, there's about a 30, 40, 50-second delay sometimes. So then, of course, Robin has to type the question. So And if anybody else has any questions, you know what? Throw them out. Throw them out. Throw them out. No, don't go searching for a first copy of the show or a copy of the first show.
It's so nice, though. People trying to find the solution. While we're waiting for a question, and we'll stop the second we get one, Will Smith, he puts in one of his great inspirational shows. And I just talked to a lady this afternoon, and she says, you're not a motivational speaker, you're an inspirational speaker.
I love that.
And she says that's because it's the spirit in you, right? You inspire the spirit, and all of you commenting and asking questions, and Kevin, right? It's the spirit in you that is inspired to go on. It's part of a lot of my friends from high school say, I forget that you had no arms and legs, and you're like, really? No arms, no legs. How do you forget that? It's like the first thing everybody sees and gawks at, and then everybody forgets it.
Exactly. Get it over with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell people that too a lot of times is if they're making fun of you for something, hit it head on.
Yes.
Laugh with them.
Yes.
Or else they're going to laugh at you. So that is sometimes the best way to deal with a potential bully or somebody who is mocking you. Is just like, hey, you know what? What did you say? I'm not going to fight you for it, but hey, yeah, just say it. People have talked or are talking about you doing TED Talks as well.
Yes, I've got a couple of TED Talks, and that my sailing journey to convince my coach living out of my car is a TED Talk.
And the principal
TED
says,
Talk about busting into Uber. Uber was almost going to be one of the countries that never got Uber because our taxi drivers were so influential. And I marched down to City Hall and talked about, without Uber, we lose Uber Assist and Uber Wave, WAV, wheelchair accessible vehicle. And so, and the taxis don't really want the accessible vehicle world. And so there was room for both of them. And it turns out the reason the funding structure was so hard in the taxi world was there was a really old, antiquated medallion structure from the 70s. No other business, no Loblaws, no flower shop, no other business could grandfather the license for that restaurant or that store. Taxis were the only ones in the 70s, there were like 100 medallions, that could be grandfathered down to the family members. So there was a real expensive monopoly on it by the time Uber came around. So when we busted up the old medallion system, then there was plenty of money for taxi drivers and Uber drivers and now Lyft drivers, right? Like it was, and Uber, taxis could do the hailing off the street and Uber can do the apps. It was perfect for everybody and more services on demand for everybody.
Now, I see that a number of people are having some technical problems right now. Not everybody. This happens every once in a while. There sometimes is a certain area. Is everything getting better now? So
is Tracy's condominium or the rain?
No, it keeps saying buffering apparently, and it could be the weather that causes some problems. So I hope everybody's able to stick it through. Yeah, and I'm not even sure if because the comments have stopped too. So okay. Oh, okay. There we go. Pam has a question. Where do you do your motivational speaking? What is your target group?
I've been in 20 countries in 2019. Before COVID hit, I was in 20 cities in Europe and North America before COVID. I wasn't home when it was time to get home. And when I flew home, there was hardly anybody on the plane, of course, with the pandemic. And so, I everything from health services and pharmacy to corporations like financial banks and IT services is anybody that's going through a change, right? And so we all have change is inevitable in our life. And so I help people disarm their limiting beliefs. And so that might be, we can't take on this new technology, or there's a new CEO, or there's a new organizational structure, or if it's in world of children with disabilities, it's inspiring those phenomenal support workers and all these people doing essential services. We've got our fire and our police and our nurses and our doctors, but we also have our caregivers and people cooking and people supporting house cleaning. Like, so I often do a lot of conferences as well for our essential service providers. That's when I was in Cochrane. Somebody said if I was ever in Cochrane.
That was Mike. Yep. Yeah.
Yep, Mike. It was because I was presenting to essential service providers in a way to honor them, strength-based leadership. You know, these stories, I don't say what's the problem. We say what works when we've got a problem.
Yeah.
And you have stories. All of you have stories. So I'll share a couple stories to get the thinking going, like kindergarten, like bullying, like Uber. And then I throw it back at the audience and say, so what's your story as a fireman or as a single mom or as somebody facing depression, or what's your story? Lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mouthful, but you want to get it right. You want to make sure you're all inclusive.
So we're getting a lot of people saying they want more information. Let's put your website up. You are very active on social media as well. But you know what? The best place to stop first is your website, unstoppabletracy.com, and all the links to your various social media are there, and you keep up to date. You've got a couple of things happening in the next couple of days, in fact.
I do. You'd think I was calm and quiet, but I'm plenty busy. There's a success summit with Women of Inspiration, the Universal Women's Network. I'm also speaking to Open Doors for Accessibility with March of Dimes Canada. And I'm also speaking, I'm doing a pre-recording with a woman named Pauline, and she lives in Hawaii. She's a Filipino woman, and she has a TV show called One Leg Up, which is kind of fun. And so there's I just finished a recording with Maurice in the Netherlands with the sergeant that served with Prince Harry, and we were talking about the Invictus Games, which was great, and Australia and Nepal. I just finished an interview with Nepal with Alvin Law, the drummer with no arms, that's out there. So lots and lots of back shows you can watch and upcoming shows, and I try to celebrate those on social media. That's really thoughtful of you with your show every night at 7 p.m. But a lot of people, they say, give us the email and I'll send you a Zoom link. Kevin, you're so generous that you do this live just to fill souls. You aren't doing this to collect emails to sell something later. You are just authentically sharing and filling souls. So thank you.
Well,
thank you for. Yeah.
So there's one more order of business, and that is tying a shoe.
Tying a shoe.
Now, I would put a challenge out to anybody out there to tie a shoe without using your hands or your feet. Okay? Without using anything like that. And this is what this young lady has been able to do since before going into kindergarten, and it speaks to the spirit that is unstoppable, Tracy. So tell me what you're going to do.
So I was well pressed to find a shoe with a shoelace at the moment. So I got creative. Nothing stops us. You're unstoppable. So I got a workaround, and I made my sandal have some pretend shoelaces. So it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah. So just tilt the camera down. That's fine. Yeah.
So you can folks see that?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And so I have a spatula on my hand that I like to call Trevor.
Okay.
So this is Trevor. And I called Trevor, it was a friend in kindergarten, and every time I left my spatula in the sandbox, I would shout out, I lost my finger, and all the kids would freak out, Trevor, Tracy's lost her finger. So it's been Trevor ever since, and so I've got Trevor that can help me hold things, but I also have this little arm, and a lot of the kids say it looks like Patrick.
Yes, it does, from SpongeBob. Yeah.
So sometimes. So I'll just for clarity.
You should get a tattoo of Patrick on the end of that.
Patrick, I do. I need Patrick right here.
Oh, that'd be such a great idea.
I think it would be incredible. I often grab a marker and draw Patrick on my arm. If I'm at a school, I'll speak to anybody's school for free, Rick Hansen Foundation. So it's June. Invite me to your schools. Talk to your principals. And your teachers.
Okay, well, I'm going to put you in touch with the Toronto Student Media Network. I bet you they would love to interview you and talk to you. Owen, I know Owen's probably watching. Owen, what do you say?
Yeah.
All right, so here we go.
Here we go. So Trevor crossed it over with my little arm, and I'm using my chin a bit.
Yeah.
And if you remember, normally this would be on my foot. So I'm getting a little creative
Yeah.
and trying to balance the shoe and tie it. Here we go. And then I make a loop, and Patrick kind of holds it as a balance, and Trevor goes around the loop. And I'm sorry that the shoelace is sort of the same color as the shoe. And my finger makes room for it, and Patrick holds the loop, and Trevor gives it a pull. And then Patrick wears the loop, and Trevor gives it a pull.
Wow.
And so then I have a shoelace. I searched far and wide to find the time when I tied Kevin's shoes,
Yeah.
which was fun. I think there was a little video, but it's kind of like your first video ever. It was a live video. We didn't do a recording of it. So hopefully people can kind of see the makeshift shoelace on my sandal. I think it's really fun that you got me to do that. And I think I'm going to have to buy a pair of running shoes just to be able to demonstrate more often my shoelace tying capabilities.
Let's go over, let's quickly recap then the formula, Tracy's formula for a limitless you. Okay. So the limitless secret to unstoppable you: exceed certainty, embrace possibility, and earn independence. For those just joining, quickly go through those.
Unstoppable you, not unstoppable Tracy. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. Embrace possibility, even if you don't know how. You don't avoid failure. You try again. And you earn independence. But you earn independence not alone. You earn independence by who you surround yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with lifelines? You surrounding yourself with can-do people and friends that are going to be there, that say you can do this, and give yourself permission to have a bad day. Tomorrow you will regroup and be unstoppable you. Exceed uncertainty, embrace possibility, earn independence. And if you do the tough love approach of no excuses, you get to live a life of no limits. And that is the secret, the limitless secret to the peak performance in you. You disarm your limiting beliefs to the peak performance in you with no excuses, the limitless secret. Exceed uncertainty, embrace possibility, and earn independence. That's the name of my book.
Oh, tell us about the book. Tell people about this book, please.
Everybody can have a free download.
Okay.
Right? It's not a selling. If you love hard copy, you're welcome to buy a hard copy. But there's free download, and it's Unstoppable You, and it shares some of the pictures today. But chapter 2 is the kindergarten story, for example. But the end of every chapter is exercises for you. So we ask you, like, what works for you? What doesn't work for you? What are you going to do going ahead? So, today is inspiration. And then you get in the shower, and like perfume, it washes away. So what works best is that you continually visit. It's such a blessing that Kevin did this for 77 days, because one day it doesn't stick. It's the repeated unstoppable you, getting your spirit filled for inspiration. And so the book is intended to have, here's some motivation and inspiration, but also how you can be unstoppable and continually reapply the motivation and inspiration that you can do it and not avoid failure and have no excuses, so that you can self-develop. And you can use, if you're a coach, you're welcome to use the questions in the book to support your world, support your children, support your communities where people are having isolation. And that's everywhere. Whether you are a CEO in a TD bank, or whether you're somebody that lost your job because of layoffs, like the airline staff, like whoever you are, everybody's in isolation. Everybody's being impacted. Don't let people fool you. Everybody's having bad days. I know, because they're calling me, and everybody looks like they're in the perfect place, but everybody's having a bad day. So reach out and support each other and be lifelines. But the biggest way to fill your soul I'm so lucky I got to tie the shoelaces of others because it filled my soul. The biggest way you can fill your soul is to be grateful and share it and fill the souls of others. Be a call, reach out to somebody and fill somebody else's soul, and that will help fill your soul.
Can you put Meredith's comment up, Parker, up right there? Because I was just about to say, is anybody else exhausted?
Oh,
I just realized I'm going, oh my gosh. Like, it is so tough to keep up with you. And I think that's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. You're right. You had every excuse in the world to sit back and let everybody else do something for you. You could easily be in a wheelchair, have someone push you around, get an electric wheelchair, a scooter, something like that. And you didn't. You exceeded certainty. And you followed your advice. And you are such an inspiration, and you are also a hero. So if people are going to say, who are my heroes? One of my heroes is Unstoppable Tracy. You're amazing.
And there's a superhero in all of you. You are all of you listeners are just as much a superhero as Kevin and I. We are all superheroes. You just got to tap into it.
Oh, you're beautiful, Tracy. Everybody wants you to come back again.
No, that's so thoughtful. I love the Ever Ready Bunny. That's so fun.
So, unstoppabletracy.com. Get a free download of the book. Follow her on all the social media. Chat with her. Send her inspiration too, because I bet you Tracy needs it sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right.
Helps me remember it matters.
Tracy, thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, Kevin.
All right.
Difference maker.
Good night to you, Tracy.
Good night, Kevin. Good night, all. Thank you for joining.
Unstoppable Tracy. Tracy's joining me for an incredible hour, wasn't it? Was it not an incredible hour? I was mesmerized. There's a lot of times I forgot what I was going to ask next because I'm sitting there and I'm mesmerized by it, and I couldn't help but think of that old saying. I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. And Tracy could be crying. I mean, I don't, she is the guy without the feet. And yet she's not. In fact, she's going to go help that guy find some shoes and then tie them for him. And don't make the mistake that having her tie a shoe is some sort of parlor trick. Oh, look, the woman with no arms and no legs is making her tie a shoe. No. You know when you were a kid how hard it was and frustrating to learn to tie that damn shoe. And you knew how wonderful it was when you finally learned it. And then somewhere along the line, we stopped getting excited about it. And it just became something we did every day without even thinking. This is, we talk about cognitive behavior and we talk about cognitive thinking and being in the moment. There are many times, I am sure that Tracy is reminded of being in a moment. So it's your choice. Am I facing a problem or am I facing a challenge? Tracy faces challenges. And don't tell her she can't do it. Because you're going to get an earful, first of all. I think she's such a lovely lady, and I'm glad you enjoyed her. And if she will come back, we will have her back here. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I hope you have a great rest of the evening and a great day tomorrow until we see you again tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on Kevin's Isolators. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. Oh, by the way, yes, I forgot about that. Thank you, Parker. I invite everybody to turn on CNN tomorrow. And again, you don't even have to have a subscription. It's free online on CNN and on SesameStreet.com. It's a town hall standing up to racism. It's a town hall for kids and families. This is okay for your kids to watch. It is. And it will help to answer some questions. I think it will give us a bit of guidance as well. I don't care if you don't have kids. I strongly suggest you turn it on and you watch it. So that's tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, cnn.com/Sesame Street, on CNN as well. All right. Until tomorrow, thanks for joining us. Take care of yourself and take care of each other.
COVID-19, why you do this to me? I really don't like being stuck in quarantine. I have no toilet paper, I don't even have a snack. Hey, coronavirus, I want my life back. Hey, coronavirus, I want my life back. Well, hey, coronavirus, I want my life back. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. Until tomorrow, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Alexa, turn off studio lights.